Block 1. The Foundation. Age 17. Your path does not begin with an oath. Your path begins with the metallic clang of a rusted mailbox. At 17, you were still a kid. You smell like home, your mother's cooking, high school textbooks. But a single gray envelope changes everything in an instant. The state does not care about your dreams or aspirations. They only need a body that can function for the next 10 years. As soon as the razor touches your scalp, you know your identity is hitting the floor along with your hair. You are no longer an individual. You are a number. In a barrack filled with 50 men, the air is so cold and stagnant you can cut it with a knife. You sleep on thin mattresses, huddled together in your coats like cornered animals, trying to cling to any bit of warmth you can manage. Wake up at 5 a.m. is not a wake-up call. It is a shock to your system. You are out on the frozen parade grounds running until your lungs are on fire from the bitter air and your legs are numb. If one person does not keep up, you run an extra lap. That is how you teach someone to hate the weak. Your whole world is reduced to the edge of a metal bowl containing the same watery corn mush 3 times a day. You are not really hungry. You just don't notice anymore. Punishment is a science. If your rations are missing, you are out in knee-deep snow, bare to the waist, and you are forced to your knees for hours. Your bunkmate is a kid with a good soul. He leans over to you during the night and says under his breath that things are not supposed to be this way. The following morning, his bed is made neatly, and he is gone. You learn to hide your thoughts so deep that no matter how hard they are interrogated, no matter how hard they are probed, you will never reveal them. Block 2. Shadow on the Border.
Age 18. At 18 years old, they ship you up to the border. It's an even deeper silence than at boot camp. Before you stands a river of black ice. A few hundred yards past that river, a whole different world starts. It's called China. At night, you can see the lights over there. It looks like an alien culture, too bright, too full of life. You're carrying an old rifle with a stock that's worn out and a clip with 5 rounds. All of those rounds are accounted for. You were never given this hunk of metal to defend the country from an outside force. You were given it to ensure that not a single soul would escape from the inside. The mantra is repeated by your commanding officer. You have 3 seconds to make a decision. If you see a shadow running to the water and you don't pull the trigger, you are an accomplice to treason. One night, it happens. You hear the crunching through the snow and you see a silhouette. It is thin, desperate, and willing to do anything to get across that line. Your fingers go numb on the metal. You start to count to yourself. 1, 2. You see the face of a human being with only primal fear in his eyes. In that moment, you know that you are the defector. The only difference is that he had the guts to do something about it. There's a gunshot from behind you. The officer in the tower did not wait for your 3rd second to pass. The body thuds onto the ice, leaving a deep red stain. They bring you in for questioning, trying to peer into your soul to see if you have any sympathies. You lie so well that you start to believe in your own loyalty. After that night, you don't look at those lights anymore. You learn to kill the person inside you before he has a chance to speak up.
Block 3. The Censor. Age 22. At 22, you realize that the key to survival is not in you, but in your ability to listen. You have been promoted. You no longer have to stand in trenches freezing. Instead, you get to sit in a small, stuffy room filled with stacks and stacks of opened envelopes. You are a censor. Your job is to make sure that reality matches up with the messages written on the propaganda posters on the walls of the barracks. You get to read about people suffering from diseases, about mothers in the villages running out of grain, about younger brothers growing fat from hunger. Your tool of power is a black marker. You censor paragraphs and paragraphs of written words, changing cries for help into messages of high morale and dedication to the leader. You become an invisible guardian. The men at the barracks stop talking as soon as you enter a room. You are no longer one of them. You are the unit's eyes.
You have a notebook full of names of those who sigh too often at night or have asked too many questions about the quality of their uniforms. You know that a single report from you could get a man removed from the roster forever. One day, you receive a letter from a guy from your former unit. He writes to his wife about his dreams of one day being able to eat as much bread as he wants. You stare at the letter in front of you for a long time, remembering the taste of the corn mush. You then proceed to black out the entire letter with your black marker and add the man's name to your notebook. You sleep soundly that night because of your loyalty, rewarded with an extra plate of rice. You have finally learned the truth. An informant's report hurts far more quietly than a sniper rifle.
Block 4, the Capitol Theater, age 26. At the tender age of 26, you find yourself in the capital of North Korea. The capital is so perfect that everything looks too clean and too perfect. Unlike the dull and gray bases that you have been to for the past few years of your life, the capital is like a paradise. You are in an elite school where the main topic of study is the art of performance. Your teachers are seasoned soldiers who have seen it all. They will tell you that the ultimate truth is that an inquisitive and talented officer is just garbage that needs to be thrown away. On the other hand, an average and loyal officer is the backbone of the state. You become an expert in the art of self-criticism. Once a week, the entire class sits in a circle. Each person stands up and criticizes himself. You learn how to become an expert at fabricating your weaknesses and how to use them to show your loyalty. You will criticize yourself for not fully grasping the brilliance of the leader's latest speech, or paying too much attention to details and forgetting the importance of ideology. It is a theater where everybody knows that the penalty for a poor performance is to disappear into thin air. You will watch as the best marksman in the class is dragged out of the lecture room for debating the colonel too well. But you will just slide into the seat that the marksman just left. You will learn how to smile only if the person above you is smiling. You will also learn how to clap the hardest until your palms bleed.
Block 5, the Guardian of Fear, age 32. You're a political officer by the time you're 32. No more worries about hardware and logistics. No more worries about supplies. Now you worry about souls. You're assigned to a secret missile unit. Even the commanding officer, a seasoned warrior, blanches when you walk into his office without knocking. Your power isn't in your stripes. Your power is in your ability to define loyalty. You spend countless hours peeking through hidden windows and listening in on the smoker's lounge. You search for individualism, no matter how non-existent. Your performance is graded by the number of internal enemies you discover. Your job is a never-ending search. You call in the young officers for preventative interviews. You stare them down until they look away. You ask them what they were thinking when the anthem came on during morning formation. You listen for the quiver in their voice. You eliminate the promising young men to prove your own diligence. You realize you're the center of a perfect whirlpool of fear, and now you're the one who must swim in it. And you know there's someone out there behind you, someone poring over your reports, someone looking for the first sign of your weakness. You don't sleep anymore without pills. Even the silence in your own house seems suspicious. You're a cog in a massive surveillance engine, and you're the most valuable and terrified one.
Block 6, the Gilded Guard, age 40. You are a colonel by the time you are 40. This is evidenced by your sleek black car that whisks you from point A to point B through the broad streets of the capital. It is evidenced by your apartment in one of the posh sections of town where the hot water is always on. Your kids are in the best schools, learning to be just like you. Cold, calculating, ruthless. You have the best cognac and the best food. But every time you take a sip or sit down to a meal, you know there is a bitter aftertaste. The driver is no servant, he is a tail, and he reports everything you breathe to the ministry. The guards who stand at your front door are just your future wardens in waiting. You are in a gilded cage, and the bars are made of suspicion. You sit through banquets where generals raise glasses to eternal prosperity, and everybody in the room knows that anybody in the room could be dead by tomorrow. You are a master at forgetting. If your old friend from the academy simply disappears one day, you don't ask questions.
You are the first to edit his face out of the group photos from your academy days. You are the first to condemn him at the party meetings, using the vilest rhetoric imaginable. You know that at this level, mistakes are not forgiven. Every briefing you hear on the technology used in the latest missile tests is a minefield. If a missile fails to launch, the system demands a head on a platter, and you'll do everything in your power to make sure it is not your own. You spent 20 years climbing up the ranks to find a comfortable perch, and all you found was a paranoia that gnaws at you every second you are not in front of a camera.
Block 7. The Target General. Age 48. You are 48 years old, and it is the time when you are promoted to a general. At parades, you are on the podium, and your chest is so covered with medals that they look like dragon scales. To the world, you are a symbol of the state, a symbol of invincibility. But beneath the uniform, your heart pounds in a ragged, uneven rhythm. You are at the apex of the pyramid, and the air is too thin to breathe. Every action you take, every signature on a strategic document, is a potential death sentence. You do not even trust your own shadow. High council meetings are held in dead silence, and the glances of your colleagues feel sharper than knives. Another ballistic missile test ends in an explosion on the launch pad, and you know the noose is tightening around your neck. You need a scapegoat fast before your own head rolls. You step up to the podium, face frozen, and dismantle a man who shared your rations for 30 years on the border. You accuse him of sabotage, treason, and being a foreign agent. You shout as loudly as you can to mask the tremor in your hands. Your comrade is dragged away, and you know his name will never be spoken again. You have survived another day. At the height of your power, you understand you are not the king. You are simply the most prominent, most expensive piece in the display window, kept only to be sacrificed when the system demands blood.
Block 8. The Failed Instrument. Age 52. Finally, at 52, you've made it into the inner circle. You have an office in the rooms where the fates of millions are decided. You feel untouchable, a single cog in a divine machine. But the machine doesn't reward loyalty, only efficiency. When a military launch fails in a way that can no longer be hidden, a sacrifice must be made to erase the sting of failure. That sacrifice is you. Your past transgressions, long thought buried, are laid out before a young investigator whose expression is one of bored indifference. Your hesitation on the border 34 years ago, your insufficiently firm reports as a censor, every mistake, every stray glance, every stray word, carefully preserved in your permanent file, is now evidence of your unfitness. You are not dragged to a basement to be beaten. Instead, they simply tell you that you are tired. Your name is removed from meeting rosters. Your portrait in the academy hallway is quietly taken down at night. You are reassigned to a less demanding role, but you know this is the end. You have seen too much, known too much, served too long to walk away freely. You have become the instrument of failure, discarded so the machine can keep running smoothly.
Block 9. Erased. Age 55. At 55, you end up exactly where you started, in the deep provinces. You live in a small house attached to a rural training center. You have no press coverage, no medals, no power. Your uniform is clean, but the rank on your shoulders no longer carries any weight. Officially, you are a mentor. In reality, you no longer exist. Your phone line is disconnected, your accounts are frozen, and your children have disowned you to keep their own positions in the capital. You are a living ghost, scrubbed from the nation's memory. Every morning, you wake up at 5 a.m., a habit stronger than your own will. You stand on your doorstep and watch the young recruits, barely 17, running across the parade grounds in the morning mist. You see yourself in them. You see the same doom in their eyes and the same hope that the system will soon burn to ash. You want to walk up to them, to scream at them, to run while they still can, but you stay silent. Because you know that even if they run, the system will just find someone else. You realize your life wasn't a climb to the top. It was a long, winding corridor that led you right back to the same cold starting point.
You are nothing more than a temporary part, worn down and tossed onto the scrap heap of history. The machine demands fresh material, and a new general, just as loyal and just as terrified, has already taken your seat in Pyongyang to walk your path until the very end. The cycle is complete. The dust has settled. You are gone.